it's 2012, and you get the call. You're going to be in Django Unchained. So first, how did that come to be? And second, what was your reaction initially?
That was a strange situation because I remember in 2011, it was maybe like August 2011, had the audition. It was two parts that I read for. It was Big Fred, and it was this other part. I think it was Oscar. It was another character. Another character I wanted to get because the other character in the audition had the most lines. And later on, they broke it up at the very, very end of Django. They broke it up to the three guys in the cage. They gave each one of them a line. But initially, those each one of those guys, it was just one person had that line. And Big Fred just had, I think my line was "Yes, sir" 3 times. That's all it was. And later it became the best scene I ever did in the history of my acting career. And then they actually cut it out of the movie. Because I didn't understand the script. It was a lot of stuff. A lot of sometimes they get scripts. You only get your part. That you get a snippet of the part, one of the parts that you're reading for. You could have 3 scenes. They may give you 1 scene to read for. So you have no idea how it fits in the story. Zero. Yeah. So I read for Big Fred, and I read the character's name was Oscar. I think that's what it was. So I go into the casting director's office. I read for both of those, and I leave. And I don't hear anything. Normally, if I don't hear anything within a week, I forget about it. Because, when I first started, I used to nag my agent, "Did you hear anything?" She said, "Relax. If they want you, they'll let you know. If they don't, they don't." Because they don't call you and tell you don't have it. They call the people who do. And I didn't understand. I didn't know that. So that was another lesson learned. They're not that courteous. So anyway, that was August. And then in November, it was the week before Thanksgiving or the week of Thanksgiving. And I remember my agent calling me saying, "Quentin Tarantino wants to meet you. He's at the, I think it was the Fairmont Hotel downtown. I guess he had a room there." I say, "For what? It's another movie?" "No, it's the movie because normally, I didn't know how big films work. Big films, they start production, way ahead. Whereas normally for like a television show, if you're a co-star, you read one, you go in audition, in a couple of days, you know whether you got the part or not. And if it's in most films in those days before they started doing taped auditions, you would go in, cast director, and then you would come back for a callback with the producer or director of the film. Like I did what was one that I did? Uh, Nicolas Cage, Bad Lieutenant. I went in. I remember going in and did a good job. I made it to the audition because I made it to the callback. I had the famous director, German. Is he German? Verhoog, whatever his name is. Anyway,
yeah.
I can't think of his name right now, but I met him. I remember whispering to his assistant that was a great audition. Even I didn't get the part. So that was I was used to going in, either getting the part or having a call back and getting the part. That's how it was back in those days before they started doing a lot of tape auditions. And so I go to the hotel. I'm waiting outside. Um, he comes to the door. No, the casting director comes to the door. I go in there. He comes, shakes my hand, and he's just bigger than life. I mean, he sucks all the air out the room. So Escalante Lundy, great to meet you. I like your audition. You said you do what most actors don't do. You don't give me what I want. You give me a character, not what you think I want. Well, I didn't give you what I thought you want because I didn't know what the hell what it was. I didn't know what the character was. It was just 3 lines of "yes, sir." So, I didn't know enough to give him what he wanted. It was sometimes it's best to be ignorant because you can't make obvious mistakes if you don't know. So that's one of those times where ignorance was bliss. So we sat down, and it was his assistant and then the local casting director, and we talked about 25 minutes. He just talked and talked and talked before he even got to just talking about he wanted to know about my life. Basically, what you doing? That's what he did. Because cool. What he's doing is he's trying to see if the character is inside of you. Because when he looks at you, he's looking like he's almost reading your mind. Like he's looking past everything. It's like he's a hard person to lie to, extremely, because he is like he's noticing everything you do, your body language. So we talked about 25 minutes. I remember him asking me, "Do you feel uncomfortable? Would you feel uncomfortable doing?" After explain what the movie was about, would you feel uncomfortable with doing this type of movie? I said, if I felt comfortable, something would be wrong with me. So so then we read it, the scene a couple. Can you explain what the scene was? But I had a fight scene before that, and this is after when we get to Candyland, and then he explained all that. So we did the scene, we read it, then we actually did it physically. And then he said, "Well, if you get this part, I want you to, don't cut your hair, don't shave. You might need to lose some weight. I need to see if you can actually do it, the physical part to it." So, as I would have you meet with a stunt coordinator locally, and then see if he thinks you can do the job. So I'm saying to myself, he wants me to do all that. I must have the job. I didn't know. I didn't know other people. He was in addition to other people also. I had no idea. So I wasn't even thinking that. So I go home. I'm all excited. I get a call next day from the stunt coordinator. Said he had a local person there that he wanted me to meet with, and the guy was going to put me through the paces to see if he felt I could do the job, because he said I was a little bigger than he thought I was, and he didn't know whether or not I could physically do. So I met the guy. His name was Buddy. He was an older guy. So I went. I did everything he wanted me to do, and then he called the other guy, the casting director. I mean the stunt coordinator, and gave him my approval, his approval, and then he called me and said, "Yeah, yeah, I got the proof." And then I get a call a couple of days later that I had the part. So that was right after Thanksgiving that I found out officially that I was going to be shooting in March. So that's how I got the part.
And what was that like working with Tarantino on set?
It's like no a director ever met. I say what he does, and this what people who haven't worked doesn't know. He seduces you. You fall in love with him. And what I mean by that is that he gives you everything that you need. I mean, it's like Fantasy Island. You want something, you got it. I mean, you have the best in catering, which is my favorite department. Set design, wardrobe, props. You have the best in everything. There's nothing you can say you didn't have. They had a guy. They would have when they were shooting a scene, if a cloud was a certain location, if the cloud moved, they can call some weather channel. It will let them know another cloud was coming. It was to that degree. I mean, you're talking about a $900 million budget. I mean, he's so intelligent, and he's the key with Quentin is he's a great communicator. That's probably his number one asset, and that's why a lot of directors probably fail. They don't have the knowledge of how to communicate with actors, and that's probably one of his greatest strengths. He knows how to communicate with people. I remember I was doing a scene. Me and Lil, we did the fight scene. After the fight scene that y'all saw in the movie is not the fight scene. That's like a sample.
Yeah.
That fight scene took us 2 weeks to shoot. He showed y'all the rated G version.
Yeah.
They had that. We was in the like in the corner with like your fighting and the manager, and then there was parts after the fight. There's a part when I took both the guy's eyes out. The part when he bit chunks out my shoulder, because we shot it for 2 weeks, and there was a scene after the fight when you see when after the fight Leo tells the bartender to give me a beer and all that. But we did it a few times, and then one time Quentin said, "Say it, knowing you don't mean it, but say it the same way you're saying it, but just say it knowing you don't mean it." And when we did it next time, I felt that he didn't mean it. Like I knew this was like the end for me. But he knows not only what to say, he knows how to say it, that it's easy for you to translate and to perform it. So I would say probably his communication skills are probably the best that I've ever seen. And then he does stuff for you, like at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. We would have movie night where he would get this obscure Japanese movie, and he'll take a theater. He rent out the whole theater, and only we can come, and there'll be food there and alcohol, and you know, he showed he appreciated you. So what that did for you is that you would do everything for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you do anything because you didn't want to disappoint him. He did all that for you, put you in this situation that nobody else had done, and so you want to do everything not to disappoint him. Not so much you do it for him more than you're doing it for yourself, and that's what he does. That's what he does. What people don't realize.
You were talking about the screenings. Is that I noticed I noticed a picture of you and some of the other cast of the film. It almost looks like you guys are at a screening.
That was actually Leo. Leo they put him in one, and the stars got houses. That was the house he was staying in. It was another star's house that he was staying in, but Leo, that was the house he was staying in. So he invited some of the guys over to watch an MMA fight. I think it was what was the guy, Jones?
So James Remar, I guess, lost whatever bet. I noticed a lot of cash in his hands.
Jamie Foxx and a couple of people had bet. They would bet just $1. You know, Jamie bet. He was for the other guy. Leo had betted. James betted, and a couple of guys had bet $1. So we was on the sofa. We decided to take a picture after the fight, and James just held up the $1. So that was like because Leo had catered some food, invited some people over. It's about 20 of us. All the Mandangos and some other people and his people. So it's about 20 of us that were there. And we had like he catered dinner, and we watched the fight, and then that was afterwards. We just hanging out, just talking. So just a picture we took. But that was just with the guys, some of the guys on the set. That wasn't with the whole production with the Quentin stuff, yeah. But that was just James just held the $1 up, yeah.
I want to change tone for a moment and ask you about this, and not even just with Leonardo DiCaprio's character, with your character as well, because I was very fascinated when I found out we're going to be interviewing you with a subject matter like this, like what you told Quentin Tarantino is, if I'm comfortable with this, you got the wrong guy, there is a problem. So I wanted to know, we read that Leonardo DiCaprio was so uncomfortable with his character. He was also known for being a method actor. I mean, he ate raw bison and slept with an animal carcass for the revenant. So we already know how far he'll go. I'm curious on when you saw him, if he ever broke character with you on set just because of how uncomfortable he was in that role, something pulling away from him like that. And furthermore, were you ever at a position to where you felt you couldn't perform because this is serious content we're talking about here? How did that all translate?
Well, with me, the best thing about this film is that I had time. Like I said, I found out I had the part basically in the November, beginning of December. So at December, January, February to prepare at 3 months. I never today, since before or after, had 3 months prepared for any film. You know, so now I see, you know, for the stars, I see why they need that time, because to get into character takes time. And especially for somebody like me, I had only been acting like 6 years when that happened. So, you know, I needed the time. So for me, I had time. So what I did was, for me, what works the best, the easiest, there's a lot of things that I do, but the thing that works the most effective is a word. I have one word that's like my theme throughout the whole film. For this word, it was despair. That was the one word that I attached myself to, despair, which is just mean, you know, it's hopeless. You know, I will be a slave the rest of my life. So I attached myself to that word, and everything I did was attached to that word. And so I always kept that in me, you know, for 3 months. I just drilled that in when I was working out, when I was working my day job, when I was doing anything. I'm at the stop sign. Despair. I drilled that into me for 3 straight months. So that no matter what I was doing, in character, not in character, it was always there. With Leo, it's a lot of things I found out about Leo. Like, he had never did a play. We just was talking about some of the actors were talking. That night he was talking. He said he had never did a play. I didn't know that. He had, the interesting about Leo that's so fascinating, he had just shot Great Gatsby, Django, Wolf of Wall Street, back to back to back. And I mean, that's amazing. How could you do, each character was so different.
Yeah.
You know, he went back to back to back. I mean, straight, no, not a day break.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, when we would say cut, nobody really stayed externally in character. Now they may have been internally, but exterior, they would go back. Especially Sam, he was the one. He would, as soon as they say cut, he would go back to being Sam immediately. As they say action, go right into it. He probably went in and out of character the easiest. He probably did the longest. Christoph, another one. You know, the old actors, it's easy for them, I think, to break character. Nobody really stayed external. You couldn't see it. I mean, you couldn't feel. They weren't in character when after the Quentin said cut. They may have still been in character internally, but they weren't external. They weren't still. Leo wasn't still talking like Monsieur Candy, and Sam wasn't Steven, his character, and Jamie wasn't Django when they said cut. Because Quentin would always have something to say, and they would talk in their own voices. So he may have, you know, you still keep it there, but it wasn't like true method actors. Now he may have done it on other sets, I don't know. But in this set, everybody, when Quentin said cut, everybody it was a very relaxed set. Very, very, very relaxed. So people kind of, you know, semi-broke character in between takes, and we'll go right back to it as soon as you know, they were it was ready when they were started to roll. You would get right back into it when they were rolled. So I didn't see it. Okay. I didn't see anybody being in character 24/7.
Well, put it this way: out of all the sets to not do that on, that's the one. Like when they say cut, cut. So, yeah, the please cut. Let me ask you this, before we move on, do you have any interesting factoids you'd like to share that you think fans of the film would appreciate knowing? Anything that you saw behind scene or on set, or just anything in general?
Well, nothing with Leo, because I worked with him the most, because most of my scenes, every scene I was in, he was there. And when I met him, the funny thing, when I found out who was in the movie and I found out the character, I realized I was going to be working with him initially, but then I kind of forgot about that, you know, when I was preparing. And when it came time, because I shot my fight scene first, because they shot I think the movie took like 8 months. They shot initially all the scenes in the snow in Wyoming, I think it was Wyoming. Mm-hmm. Anything with hills was California, like with the horses when they would, you know, and anything on the plantation scenes and the scenes inside of Candyland was in Louisiana. The stage was in New Orleans, and the plantation scenes were out in Vacherie, Louisiana, which is like 30 miles away. And I remember I had shot my scene. First day I went on set, it was Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz, and Don Johnson. That scene when Jamie Foxx showed with that blue suit on. And so I walk on set, man, because I had been rehearsing with the stunt coordinator my fight scene. Then the next day they said, well, now we want you to come on set and do it. Man, you walked out there, you look like you stepped in 1850. I mean, they had real cotton. They had the guys on the horses. They had the slaves. I mean, you looked like you stepped back in time. I mean, it was frightening. Mm-hmm. It was like they could have said, okay, we're gonna make all black people from this day on, y'all gonna be real slaves. It felt like they could have did it. You know, it was like the set was so believable. It was awesome. Like it was like you was actually back in time. Yeah. I mean, and then I remember I met Don Johnson and Christoph and Jamie, and then I would go on set every day to rehearse the fight scene until it was time to do it. So I was on set at least 2 weeks before we started actually shooting it. And all the scene, just seeing the professionalism of how Quentin runs his set. He shoots a lot of takes, but everything is professional, and people just seem like this one big happy family. I've been on sets where people couldn't wait to get it over with, but not this one. I mean, it was just like everybody was happy to be there because he works with a lot of the same people, particularly the crew, and. So I remember that. That's my first impression being on set. I remember when I met Leo, which was so strange. I had the last time I saw him on film was the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. So my last impression of him is this little fat white man on the side of the bed naked. That's my last impression of him. So when I'm on set, I remember I had been rehearsing my scene, so it said we're going to shoot the scene. So I remember Quentin said, okay, the only person I had met so far was Leo, not Leo. I had met Jamie, Christoph, and Don, but Don Johnson wasn't in this scene. So we all go to say, everybody, all the actors just go in the room. Y'all just go in the room, just the actors and everybody. We're just gonna wait outside. So we're in a room about probably 30 minutes. But I remember I'm in the room, and then I meet some of the new actors that's coming in. And then this kid walks up to me, "How you doing? My name is Leo." And it does not register to me this is Leonardo DiCaprio. It did not register to me because he had jeans on. He was tall. He's like 6 feet. He's a little, like 2 inches shorter than I'm 6'2", so he's at least 6 feet. He has his baseball cap on. I think it's Ohio State baseball cap, a gray T-shirt. So how you doing? My name is Leo. He just started talking to me, and then I'm saying, "Who is this?" Because nobody in this room should be here unless you're an actor. And it took me probably about 2 minutes before I realized who he is, because my impression of him was the little fat man laying naked on the side of the bed. So I had no idea who he was for about. This is who he is, because I didn't know who he was for about 2 minutes, because I didn't know he was that tall and slim. I didn't know he was that tall, because he's taller than I thought he would be. And then we just started talking, and then I remember then Quentin said, "Okay, we're gonna get started." He said, "Well, you want a water? I'm gonna get a water. You want a water?" I said, "Yeah, give me a water." I was just, yeah, he's very extremely nice guy. Christoph was our name for him was the most interesting man in the world, because he had that beard and he had that European gentlemanliness. The way he was very wise. He seemed like a very wise person. The way he approached, very measured, meticulous. Because every time we was on set, I would shake his hand. He would always take his glove off before he shook my hand. He knew all the protocol, knew every protocol on how to present yourself. Jamie was real cool. Always telling stories all day. The thing about Jamie Foxx, he never raises his voice. Never raised his voice one time. Like Sam is a whole different story. Sam Jackson is what you see is what you get. Yeah. There's no pretense. There's no nothing. He is who he is, and that's yeah, Sam and Quentin are similar like that. They who they are, they're very comfortable in their skin. Mm-hmm. The thing that I was impressed by, nothing with Leo, he treated it like it was his first big break. Because a lot of times we were shooting scenes that he was off camera, it didn't make a difference. Every take was important to him. Similar to Jamie, even though they treated it like this was their big break, they didn't treat it like, "Oh, I got this. I've been doing this, for however long. I'm the star." Nobody treated it like that. Yeah. Now, I've been on film sets where people just started acting. They get a lead role and act like they've been doing it and won 10 Oscars. So it's just that it was so comfortable that it helped you feel. They didn't treat you like you was less than because you didn't have the experience and acknowledgement and all the credits and all the trappings that they had. You didn't have the celebrity that they had. But they didn't treat you that way because they would treat the extras. Everybody was respectful to everybody. There was no, they didn't treat you badly because you wasn't one of the main people on set. So it was easy to talk. I was able to talk to anybody whenever I want. I got to hang out with Leo off set a couple of times. I was talking to Jamie almost every day on set, and then some of the other actors when I had the opportunity. But it wasn't about somebody he's off limit. It wasn't about that. So that was probably my best impression of. That was probably the thing that people don't realize is that when you hear these rumors and you see the stuff that's printed about people, until you meet them, you don't know if that's true or not, because the person spreading the rumors or the misinformation may have a personal grievance with this person for whatever reason. That doesn't mean it's true. Yeah. So I was able to find out some interesting things about these people that that was very positive. So it was extremely positive experience, and it helped me continue to act, because I was thinking about, should I continue to do this? It was 5 years, and I worked a little bit, but nothing major, nothing like this. I think the Tremaine from HBO might have been my biggest thing up to that time. But since then, I was able to continue acting, and that was one of the main reasons why, because I got an opportunity to be in a film. I wouldn't say that I shouldn't have been in, or I didn't deserve to be in, because the part that I had, somebody else already had it, and the guy was Gerard's name was Gerard Bunch. He was the person that had my part, and he told me that he had the part, and he gave it to me. But he was in the movie, but he didn't have the part that I ended up getting.
Why don't you subscribe? It'll last longer.